Like 3 seconds before we went live, Katie went, "Let's go!"
I feel like pumped up by the music. I don't know what.
Oh, welcome everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's been a minute. I don't want to keep our special guest backstage for too long, so we'll go ahead and dive right in. We are continuing our Making the Monsters. Well, Making Monsters. What are we calling it? I don't care.
Making Monsters.
Making Monsters FX Spotlights.
There we go.
It's haunt stuff. That's all you need to know. So tonight we have a very special guest, a friend of ours that connected with us only like 2 years ago, but it honestly feels like 10 now. He is the show operations manager for Fright Farm and the co-owner of Lifeless Creations, as well as the chief mask maker. Please welcome. Is he ready? He looks ready.
Yeah. Bring him out. Bring him out.
PJ!
PJ. Oh, I don't know what happened between when we were talking beforehand. I suddenly I'm insane now.
I don't know. What's in your drink? Because
my drink is nothing.
You don't even have one.
I don't have anything.
I thought you had a drink. Here, you want a water bottle?
No.
Okay.
I'm not gonna douse this fire.
Welcome, PJ. It's so good to have you, man.
It's good to be here.
Excited to talk to PJ.
Yeah,
that's what he does.
It's been so. I usually start by like backtracking on like how we met and all that. You guys actually reached out to us, which was a rare thing.
The coolest thing ever.
We were in the Netherlands and we got an email from Amber, and it was basically like, "We'd love to have you guys out to Fright Farm." And we started doing homework and research into Fright Farm, which at the time, criminal shame, we had never heard of before. And it was like one of the coolest haunts we'd ever been to in our lives. Yep. So how did you stumble across us?
So working with Field, we've done some, costume orders for them. I like to see our product in the wild. So we were researching them and saw your videos pop up. And I was like, that's some production right there.
Oh, thanks. We just point cameras at stuff. Everyone else seems to do most of the work.
I will say I think Tim does excellent edits.
I think
they're a cut above.
I can't self-compliment on this channel.
I just smile. and have fun at the haunts, which he captures.
But it's super easy to have fun at a place like Fright Farm.
Of course.
So you're not asking much.
Yeah. We have been there twice now, and every year we're like, are we going to be able to make it back or not? So if you haven't been yet, definitely check them out. And hopefully you're excited to hear more about Fright Farm and other things that PJ does, because many haunters, you're not just a one-trick pony.
We got quite a lot to talk about tonight because you do. So our last two guests, people who have been watching the series will know, both from Field of Screams, both dear friends of ours, Crystal and Saf. They largely work in the makeup and effects roles and do a little bit of scare acting as well. You do everything.
I do a lot.
Like almost literally, I can't off the top of my head think of anything you don't have your hands on as far as Fright Farm operations go.
Food.
Okay,
there you go.
Okay, fair enough. Then that's not a small thing.
Nope,
especially at Fright Farm with like the pizzas are like that big.
Pizza and the soup and the pretzels and all that stuff. Yep. Okay. We'll cross food off, but there's a lot more going on there.
And this, as we have some people pouring in, I was going to plug this anyway, but Jared took care of it for me, that Fright Farm is on the Terror Tours this year in October. So I guess now that that's out there, we can officially announce that it's a thing and not have to like keep.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys are part of the Terror Tours along with a couple other haunts in your area in the Pittsburgh region. Are you? Is this the first time or one of the first times that you've been on a tour, or not even remotely, or?
So Fright Farm was on a tour in 2012, but I didn't start at Fright Farm until 2015. So I'm very excited to show haunted people what Fright Farm can do.
I could walk through Fright Farm with the lights on and find like 1,000, like 100 times. I mean, you do literally. You walk through like every day 100 times. I feel like I could go there and walk through 100 times and see something new and cool and get like geeked out about it like every single time. Fright Farm is like the Disney parks of hauntings.
Yeah, there's Easter eggs everywhere.
And almost literally, because the one year we went for the first time, you had like the Expedition Everest flags in there too, and I was like, Disney people. I said that in like a disgusting way, but I meant it in an exciting way.
Oh, we know. We know. You throw PJ's quote out
We're
there
Disney
quite
people.
a lot.
I do. Have I told you that, man? That like the quote that you said that one day when we saw the expedition, it was like my favorite quote in the entirety of the haunt industry so far. I've never met a haunter that's not also a Disney person.
Right.
He loves that quote.
We have a lot of people in here, and
I already had some.
I do want to
chat engagement.
Your cousin's husband, would that make?
So Amber's cousin.
Amber's cousin.
Amber's cousin Grayson. Thanks for joining us, Grayson.
Who's a big fan? Yes, thank you for coming. Jade as well, who has spoopy comments to make.
Crystal, thanks for joining.
Justin. And a beautiful, 100%. Agree with all of the above.
Yeah. Well, should we get into it?
We have to, because otherwise we're going to be sitting here all night.
And we've never finished all of our questions yet, so.
Yeah, if you've never been to Fright Farm, I will say this is the year to go.
Oh, yeah.
Every year is the year to go.
Every year is the year to go. So
this year is your year.
Make it the year to go.
So what I'm going to do, PJ, is I'm going to put all of the questions that I have for you in the comments so that I can pop them up on the screen. Otherwise, I'll just get sidetracked and ramble for half an hour.
What the topic of the minute is.
So, having said that, I kind of already spoiled this one, but what is your official job title and what does it entail?
So I'm the show operations manager at Fright Farm. It entails making sure that the show side of things is working properly. Not necessarily the actor side, more or less lights, fog, sound. That's all relatively my department.
Okay. I know from us being backstage that when you say like lights, fog, sound and whatnot, you're not just saying like, I want fog over there, please put it over there. You're actually physically moving big fog barrels and building things yourself and doing sound mixing and whatnot. So
right.
Yep.
This is not to be taken lightly.
The fog smell like, gross musty meat versus a, rose petal hotel kind of old hotel smell versus Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get to smell pot. Don't you worry. I got a lot of questions about smell pots.
Yeah.
But
it's a whole thing.
Yeah. So, I guess the follow-up question, and this I think is another one on our list, which is when you first got started. I know you already touched on how early you got started at Fright Farm, but the deeper question. What drew you to the haunt industry and subsequently to Fright Farm, or was Fright Farm your first foray into the haunt scene?
So, I mean, haunting is legit all I've really ever known. It started really, my brother told me that a local hayride had the Undertaker's theme song in a specific section of the haunt. And I was like, I need to see that. And then I loved it. And I just kept going and going until I hit the age of about 11. And then I joined my first haunt. And then 10 years later, I jumped ship to Fright Farm. And it's been a blast.
Man.
Oh, so man, you were hitting the haunts of like 7, 8 years old.
I always
Sounds like. Yep, you were raised by him, that's for sure.
I always feel like such a fraud when we go out and do like mad imposter syndrome, when we do like haunt coverage, because I genuinely like, we love it. Like we love everything about the haunt scene, but we also haven't been doing it that long.
No.
Like
I was a little chicken.
Yeah.
I would not have been going to a haunt at age
you
7 or
can
8, that's for
date Katie's embracing of horror culture by when the movie Orphan came out, because that was the first time I ever sat her down and made her watch something scary.
It took a few years after it came out though.
Yeah, for you to like actually warm up to like, okay, I'm dating him, this is going to be my life now. But up until then,
I think after I survived Silent Hill, that's when my brain started to get rewired.
Silent Hill is definitely a deep dive.
Yeah.
For sure.
And now I'll pretty much watch anything. I haven't watched. He's told me that I might not like Hellraiser. That's kind of where the wall is still up.
Well,
but I'll watch about it.
See, the thing is, neither of us is like a true gore hound. We both really like horror for the narrative substance, which is a strange thing to say about a scary movie because most people don't go into that for that. I like the thrill of like the adrenaline pumping, and like I'm big on the suspense and like the jump scares and whatnot, which I know a lot of people hate. But we'll tolerate gore for a good story, which is why I personally really like Hellraiser. The first 4. The rest we're not going to talk about. The reboot's pretty good. I think it's a little much for you, personally. So, but well, I mean, I would love to get your take on it, but...
Yeah. We could start dissecting horror movies and get really off topic.
Who's to say we won't?
We can do another live stream about that. I want to hear more about what PJ does.
Okay. So then I will post the next question.
Yeah.
Which is a perfect bridge.
Actually, it is from where you left off.
From where I left off. So, did it come up? There it is.
There it is.
What was your very first role at Fright Farm, and how has your journey evolved into what you do now?
So, with my previous haunt that I worked at, I had a pig character. And whenever I came to Fright Farm, I really wanted to be that pig character. So they found a section for me. I was in a meat truck outside of a barn with a chainsaw, and that whole structure still exists there.
Is it that meat truck?
Yes.
Okay. So that is, this explains a lot. Go ahead.
That's PJ's legacy.
Go ahead. I'll circle back. You continue your story.
And I mean, that's really it. I just, ran chainsaw like a champ, and I got recognized as a decent haunter there, and I just moved up from there.
This isn't a formal question that I had sent you, so sorry to catch you off guard, but when you say like a decent haunter, how do haunters advance from one role to the next within the industry? I know that we personally know a lot of managers who started kind of like on the lower rungs like you did, and I'm just curious, like what, even if it's just Fright Farm specific, like what do you guys look for?
So with me, I got recognized with Best in Role trophy that year, and then they kind of brought me on to design a little bit, and the next year we did a chainsaw barn on Hayride, and that went over really well, and then I just kind of started designing everything.
And
that
proved I don't know where I was going with that. You showed you had good ideas and that they were working, and then they just kept asking you for ideas, I guess.
That and also I'm slightly annoying with staying at the haunt late and coming in really early.
Same though, and we don't even work there, so how annoying must we be?
It sounds like gumption and motivation. It's put a good spin on. We'll take annoying out and throw some good words at that.
So you touched on like, you know, you're designing things, which is a big part of what you do behind the scenes during, I mean, you're doing it right now, literally, like designing off season to have a good show to run as a showrunner come the main season. What drew you to that specifically? Or have you just always had things like rattling around in your brain and finally found like an outlet for it? Or was it something that someone saw in you and asked you to try your hand at?
So I've always I've loved haunts. I've always wanted to own one. It's my hauntism, if you will. But this is what I knew I wanted to do. I never wanted to do anything else besides work at a haunted house and make it into a haunted house.
It's cool you're living your dream, man.
I know, man. Like I can't even remember when it was now, but we did a couple, it might have been a year ago. We did a live stream about like Imagineering, like at Disney. Like if you had unlimited budget, but you only had the finite amount of space, what would you build here? What would you build here? What would you tear down? What would you replace? And it was a lot of fun and it got us thinking, but it also occurs to me like that's what you do at a haunt. You have the space you have unless you purchase more property or expand from where you're at. And Fright Farm in particular, there's a lot of haunts, particularly the ones that are standing figures. Like Field of Screams doesn't have to tear down year over year, which is why they can do cool things and build on top of what they've already got. Fright Farm has a lot of that going on, but you also like completely retheme and refit everything. Like every year there's something completely new to go back to. So like the return value at Fright Farm is higher than I think even most haunts in the industry.
Yeah.
And that's, I attribute largely to you and your team and just like the brainstorming that you do during the off months. And then you said right now is like hammer and nails time, right?
Build time.
Fright Farm, they like to change everything, 30 to 40% every year. Don't let a certain theme stand for more than 3 years. It's a lot. It's like our big room build is what most haunts would build a whole attraction in.
Right.
And that's us ripping that out every single year.
Yeah, that changes every single year to something completely different.
And you have already had a question, by the way, about the the theme for
Someone
this year.
wants to know.
I don't know if we're at Marvel levels of secrecy right now, or if you want to keep it under wraps. But you can tease if you want, or you can not if you don't want.
And not spill the beans.
Then I have to go back.
All right, keep your secret.
But it's cool. I mean, first of all, it creates urgency to go and experience things while they're happening because they may never happen again the same way.
Yeah.
But also, like, when we went for we've only been twice. It feels like we've been 100 times now because we walked through so many times while we've been there.
14 hours both times.
We did, and it was worth it.
They practically had to peel us off the floor.
Literally, like sometimes you guys have to kick us out. But when we went the first year, it was the Yeti and the Expedition Everest flags, and you were like pumping like cool air in there to try and like create a frost environment, and it was very effective. Didn't Amber build like the Yeti head or help sculpt it?
She repainted and haired the Yeti head.
Yeah,
because that was originally
like a cycle prop, right?
Yeah.
It was a giant demon head that had been disintegrating for years, and she just patched it together.
But then, fast forward 1 year, the big room is now a series of smaller rooms with a maze in the tenement.
Yep.
Going through and finding like the big brick wall, and I recognize if you go back and watch our Fright Farm video right now, anyone who's watching, you'll see what I'm talking about. But like to the untrained eye, it looks so real and so vivid because you guys also know how to light things. But the bricks.
The burn barrel.
The burn barrel looked really cool, and that was
touch.
a mid-season ad. And then but the bricks are something that I'm hyper focused on because from a distance, they look like you're going to touch them and they're going to be like abrasive, like that kind of like sea stone, like ouch. But you get up close and it's like matte, like wallpaper that goes on. And it was, oh my God, you guys do such an amazing job is what I'm getting at. Like it's thematically, aesthetically, and mind-blowingly pleasing in every sense of the word.
It is. I agree.
I do want to pick your brain on sound design because at East Coast last year, I bought a USB with the Fright Farm sound loops on it because that's how impressed I was with all the cool stuff that was going on. Every scene has its own soundscape, and through virtue of being at the right place at the right time, we actually got to see some very quick sound design on your part that actually went to scene later that same night. Can you... There it is. Walk us through your approach to designing sound for Fright Farm. And I put this in the sense of like, how do you decide what a room should sound like? I guess what I mean by that is when you walk into a space and it's everything you want it to be visually, do you then have an immediate, like, my brain hears this sound, so I have to build this sound? Or is there more of
like a trial and error process?
Is it a catalyst?
So with me, we're brainstorming all the time on what we're building, and I'm brainstorming on what it sounds like, what it looks like, and what it smells like. So with me, audio is like an onion because it has layers.
Nice.
Why not cake, man? Everybody loves cake.
Yeah. I might like cake a little too much.
We're not going to have any of that talk on this channel. Only positive think space.
So I normally approach sound with as much realism as I can. Like, I don't like to add goofy sounds that don't make sense to me. I start with a bass layer. It's like a drone. Every speaker at Fright Farm has this sound on it. It is a droning bass to fills the space, leaves no dead spots. I don't really like dead spots. Our haunt is not quiet.
Nope.
It is in your face. It's loud. But man, it's just I like the feel. I love to feel the audio.
I understand exactly what you mean by that, because we have obviously walked through during the day when there's no sounds firing, and it's not like anything we're seeing isn't super cool, but to walk through at night with the sound loops up, it just creates it's enveloping. Like, it creates a bubble where you just walk through and you feel like you're part of a narrative, whereas without the sound, I think sometimes you look around and you feel like you're walking through a haunted house versus being a part of the story that you guys are trying to tell.
The one that sticks out to me was when the first time we went, when basement was like sewers and... Huh?
Did I miss Chapel Roan?
I don't think Chapel Roan was playing that night. We would have remembered that.
You didn't. That was a test that me and Jade did to see if it would sound more appropriate, because that was one of our busy nights. So we were sending groups through with no kill show. It was just straight in, straight out. But we put Pink Pony Club on and had her, just go on to town with a taser prop.
I mean, I feel like I low-key missed out. Pink Pony Club or Good Luck Babe, either one, with the chainsaws as a foreground.
Yeah.
Or Hot to Go. Yeah, that also.
What I was saying before we started talking about Chapel Roan, which is totally fine.
It was very important to me.
the soundscape that I think of, like, for the first time we went through, was when the basement was the sewers and boiler room, and like the echoing, the water dripping, there's probably like 6 more layers to that, but like you really feel transported. And then to know how much work was put into that, and to see that all get transformed the next year to like Hotel, which was the Hawthorne, which had its, totally own soundscape. It was so weird. It's like, this is the same exact space, but I'm somewhere
And
else.
a live
completely.
performer.
Oh yeah, that was way cool. I loved the Hawthorne. I liked both iterations, but they're so. It did feel very immersive. I think that's the word.
It's difficult to articulate, and it's the way I'm going to say it is going to come out wrong, but it's better than white noise for me to listen to like a haunt or like a droning ambience, like a sound loop from a haunt like that, which is why I was so excited when you made it available to people at East Coast. Are you doing that again, by the way? Because everyone should buy them from you, the USB sticks.
I can definitely
absolutely you should
flash together.
Absolutely you should. Anyway, it really makes me feel like I'm at home to listen to, which is a weird thing to say, and I know it's not quite accurate, but like it really gives me like
it's comforting.
This is my safe space. Like listening to like the droning ambulance and like the dripping water, like everything that goes on at Fright Farm has its own soundscape, and it blends together so seamlessly from scene. I mean, in summary, you do a terrific job.
Yeah, that was always something that stood out.
Thank you.
You do have a
audience
question from Jared and Terry at Halloween Haunts 365, which is, what other haunts do you like to visit when you're not haunting Fright Farm?
Every year, gotta go to Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. It's a must. I normally try to hit up the Haunted Hoochie in Ohio. I will hit up some local haunts in the area. It's so hard to, because we start early, and we do a Thursday through Sunday run in October with a Hell Week on the end. That's normally a Thursday to whenever Halloween is.
But I also want to say on that note, thank God you guys start as early as you do.
Yeah.
Because there's, as people, and I'm sure anyone who's watching this stream right now can sympathize, because we're all in the same community. Anyone who is enthusiastic about haunts in one way, shape, or form or another has, for the most part, 4 weekends to do everything they want to do. September is typically thought of as preseason, even though for a lot of haunts, it's definitely like starting up and spooling up. October is definitely when haunts get busier, because that's when mainstream audiences kick into spooky mode and start thinking like, oh, it would be fun to go to a haunted house this weekend. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for opening early for the enthusiasts, because we love having a little more to do in September, and you guys always like really bring out like your A game right at the beginning of the season too. So like I know it gets like it becomes, as you said, like the Hell Week starts taking a toll towards the end of the season, but like it's so worth it for the community at large.
Surprisingly, a lot of haunts in this area are open pretty early.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, we came up, what was it, tail end of September last year? I think so.
Yeah, I think
we were gonna come opening weekend, and then you guys were still like trying to like get a couple of effects together that you wanted us to see. So we were like, all right, we'll give them a little bit of space. And then by the time we did come up, we were also trying to do 100 Acres Manor that same weekend. And then we wound up scrubbing that at the last second and going home. But like, it never really occurred to me like, oh, there's actually 2-3 more haunts that are open at the end of September. Like, it didn't even register, because I'm already in like the planning mode of like, I'm doing this weekend, this weekend, this weekend. So yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh seems like maybe a not too shabby place to be.
It's got the Terror Tours hotspot this year.
Well, Terror Tours is beginning of October, so it's the opening weekend for a lot of the haunts on the tour, I think.
Oh, okay.
But for Fright Farm, it's not. For you guys, it's what, 3rd or 4th weekend?
It wouldn't be the 4th.
I am 90% sure we're opening September 12th.
Okay.
Ooh, it seems even early for you guys. That's awesome.
We won't hold you to that. Nobody
No.
hold them to that.
Yeah.
There's
It's not frigid in stone.
10% in my gaming community. We used to say 1% for the bus because you can be 99% sure and still get hit by a bus tomorrow. So 1% for the bus. Leave some room for leave some wiggle room for change. All right. Before we totally move on from sound, because I do have some questions about Lifeless Creations too, and I want to give you a chance to get on a soapbox about that work. But do sound and character design influence each other at all in your process, or do they live in separate creative lanes? By which I mean, you have a visual, you have a sound in your head. Do they intersect? Are you like, this needs to feel like this scene from this movie, or I need to capture this vibe based on this visual? Or do you see
a visual that inspires a sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
For me, it's always, well, you have to design the space before you can do the audio. But if I know, okay, we're doing a slaughter scene, I'm gonna try to pump it full of metal. I'm gonna try to get it, balls to the wall, in your face, intense. If I'm designing something like the hotel, I want a 1920s feel. I want it to,
you should.
Yes, I want it to evoke a feeling.
Music.
Yeah, I want it to evoke a feeling of just soft and somber, less intense. That's more for the actor to do.
Okay.
I feel that.
One of my favorite things about both of our runs through Fright Farm's operating seasons was the fact that, yes, every scene had its own vibe, but the vibes, there was such a healthy mix between like horror, comedy, just
like
mad being impressed by like the scale of something, and then back to like straight horror, and then unfortunately I don't know their names off the top of my head, but the older couple that's always like doing jokes back and forth when we walk through. They're always hilarious.
Like one of them's in the bed or whatever, or like their head sawed off or something. That's always funny.
But this year it was the pizza. Like, I overcooked the pizza. Well, why didn't you turn it up? They were doing. It almost sounded like they were trying to do a Monsters Inc. Like another gator got in the house.
Yeah.
They are a treasure.
They are. I don't even know them, and I think that's true.
I think it's fun to throw in a laugh and still be spooky and whatnot.
This is actually a great question or thought prompter from Justin, because I was actually thinking about Slaughter Hollow when you were talking about like the chainsaw and the metal music. Slaughter Hollow is still relatively new, right? If I'm not mistaken. Or did you do an earlier version and then like scrub it and then bring it back? Or
so Slaughter has been with me since 2016. That's when we designed a barn on the hayride. I stayed in there for 2 or 3 years, and then I wanted a more intense experience than you being on a hayride. Mm-hmm. So we moved it into the barn that I started at outside of the meat truck. And then as it got more intense, more people didn't want to go through it. More people were chickening out right there. More people were getting, having panic attacks. So we decided to build a barn where our old maze used to be, and it's bypassable, and it's just intense, just chainsaws everywhere, swinging above, below, at your face, your feet.
I like that Fright Farm in the same sense as what I was talking about earlier, where like you switch vibes from like horror, comedy, just mad impressive art, horror, like, bouncing
Gothic
back and
horror,
forth.
whatever.
Yeah. The vibes change so rapidly, but I say that in the same sense that I'm saying this now about Slaughter Hollow. Like, there's something for every kind of haunter at Fright Farm, which is, I think, something that a lot of haunts don't really do super well. Like, a lot of haunts have at least if they do it, it's not done seamlessly. A lot of haunts may have, like, this attraction is more intense than this attraction, or this attraction is going to appeal to the gorehounds. this attraction is going to appeal more to like people who are like, I don't know the phobia name, but like afraid of the dark. But Fright Farm as one linear experience offers just about everything. And the fact that you do let people bypass Slaughter Hollow, while I think that it is definitely not something you should bypass if you're a haunt fan, because you're not getting the full value of your ticket if you do. If there are people who are doing a haunt for the first time and they go through the whole maze, they've seen some really impressive stuff to whet their appetite. And then they can choose to bypass Slaughter Hollow and still feel like they got plenty out of the night.
Yeah.
Which is, you guys really have thought of everything, which is, I brag on Fright Farm all the time in private circles. So.
The barn that you said it used to be, and that's the place where like the kind of like like that endless, what feels like an endless maze thingy is now. You walk in. Is that where the old one used to be?
The old one was on Hayride.
Right. You said it was Hayride.
The first iteration was Hayride. We kind of keep that a Chainsaw Barn every year because it just really works in that area. We tried to do a different show in it before, and it just didn't pack the punch that a Chainsaw Barn did. But the second version of the barn was it's where the big pumpkin guy is.
Got it. Okay. Yep. Got it.
I never get a good.
So it would like, it would be like kind of like smack in the middle, and it would hit people.
Yeah,
like,
it was right in the middle. It was a huge, backup spot due to nobody. They just didn't want to go inside. They were like, "Nah, I'm done."
Yeah.
I mean,
operations-wise, I can see where that could start to be a problem.
I think similar. I mean, within the haunt community, there are certain sub-communities, right? The clowns are always going to think the clowns are best. The chainsaws are always going to think the chainsaws are best. I will say, like, every leg of any given attraction will have its own vibe. And the vibe of Slaughter Hollow, if it's always struck me as like raw entropic chaos.
Yeah.
Like, it's just anything goes, hard metal.
Right.
I mean, that's where we saw Barbie dancing around with the chainsaw the first year, and then
that was epic.
Was Barbie also back this year? Or I know we met Barbie backstage, and I can't remember if I actually saw Barbie on stage after the fact.
I can't remember. I think there was something fun going on in there, for sure.
I do like that Slaughter Hollow is, yes, more intense, and there's like the kill show scene at the beginning that I'm sure could be triggering for a certain kind of person.
Right.
But also, once you get in there, it's really just people running around having fun.
Yep.
So that's, I genuinely, I just love that Slaughter Hollow is part of the lineup now, and I hope you guys never tear it down.
I mean, it could. This year it could be something else. Not entirely different, but more intense.
Okay. Did we open the can of beans and take a whiff of it? Is that what we did?
No.
Nope.
No.
Okay. All right.
Because it might not happen. It could happen. It might not happen.
Okay. 1% for the bus.
1% for the bus.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We're switching gears a little bit.
I want to talk about Lifeless.
Yeah.
Because Lifeless is a huge part of what you do in your day-to-day. I guess I just self-answered my own question a little bit, but well, first of all, let's have you explain what Lifeless Creation is to the layman who is not as obsessed with your work as we are. And then we'll go from there.
So, Lifeless Creations is a mask making company that I started 8 years ago, and I had a full-time job at the time. I was just kind of dabbling with mask making. I started doing it more and more, and eventually started trying to sell my work at conventions. That went over really well. My job didn't really like to give me the time off that I needed to pursue more conventions, so I quit. And I tackled this. I tackled this as my day-to-day now. My wife, jumped on ship and is now making costumes, masks, everything.
So would you say, I mean, I have my own beliefs about this answer, but would you say that masks are at the core of what you do for Lifeless, and then everything else is a supporting product or an accessory to the mask making? Or would you say that everything is equal parts in this endeavor?
I would say that masks are what we sell the most of.
Okay, that's a fair answer. That's the business appropriate answer.
Yeah, I think so.
So I have a couple of pictures that one of these you sent me, the rest I stole without asking. But this you? I think this is you in the.
That is me.
Yes. Okay. So your masks have a very distinct look. And it is, I genuinely believe, one of the more terrifying looks in the industry, especially when you add the contacts in, as you often do. But just like the make and the feel of it's Slaughter Hollow all over again. Like, it's the chaotic energy of like, all right, anything could happen, but I know I don't want to be a part of it. Yeah. And that is not often. We were talking with Halloween Haunts 365 on their channel a couple weeks back about hot takes in the industry, and one of our hot takes was makeup over masks. And even then I said, like, the one exception that I can think of off the top of my head are Lifeless Creations masks, because they're genuinely terrifying.
Well, they also like the movement in them sometimes that's there with like the jaw joints and things like that. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
And they are terrifying. And it's also art. Like, it's different, like putting on like a silicone clown mask or whatever that was made wherever, but when you're wearing someone else's like art, I think it is different too.
Absolutely. And this is not to, take a dump on masks as an industry standard either.
No.
Like, a lot of haunts will use masks in conditions. Well, there's a lot of reasons. One of the chief conditions is we didn't have time to get everyone through makeup. And so masks take a active role in the haunt, because you didn't have, literally, you could not get everyone into makeup that would fit their scene. So quick and easy fix to get bodies in the maze is to suit them up in masks. And a lot of times that leads to, pulling on whatever masks are available. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what you do with your masks from Lifeless, and we were just talking beforehand too, like, it's so fun to see these in the wild, because you can always tell a Lifeless Creations mask from any other mask in the industry. I just feel like you actually capture the spirit and the energy that any given haunt is trying to convey in the work that you're doing, which is something that, a Spirit Halloween mask or a quick buy from, there's like a big mainstream haunt supplier that has like pretty decent looking masks that I know a lot of haunts have, but I've seen like that's one or two of the same mask at like 3 different haunts. And every Lifeless mask is different.
Right.
Every single one is unique. Anyway,
I really appreciate those kind words. Make my little heart very happy.
It's cool, man. I mean, this is to go back to what we were saying earlier. Like, this is well and truly what you do. Like, this is what you guys do best. And you in particular as a haunter, but also as an artist. Like, I don't know. Genuinely, we know a lot of haunters. We've worked with a lot of haunts. We know a lot of staffers, all incredibly talented people. I don't know of any other, at least personally, I don't know of any other haunter who has their hands in like every single thing to the extent that you do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's haunters that we just haven't met yet that fit that description.
They all wear multiple hats, but I feel like you have a lot of hats on. Like, a lot of hats on.
And a lot of masks.
Yep.
This is
another one.
This is another of your Lifeless mask. And this, again, I pulled a couple from the Lifeless Creations Facebook page that I thought were like, this is a different vibe. This is a different vibe. But like, yeah, this is very much a unique mask that is
Coraline vibes. Yeah, I had Coraline vibes last week too. I'm digging it.
So what I like about
Go ahead.
What I like about this mask is that mask is called the Doll Maker. that mask can kind of work anywhere. Like this was part of a Christmas line that we were pushing over, November into December to try to get some haunts to buy, but it worked.
A doll maker is a perfect capture of that mask.
And what I was going to supplement that with too is that this is a very different vibe, but is still immediately identifiable as a Lifeless Creations mask. It's not just like the jaw movement, although I think that is an iconic part of a lot of Lifeless
and that
masks.
may not,
it's also like the texture of the mask, and like, I mean, the fact it's so lovingly made. You can tell a Lifeless mask from other masks. In the
it's not just a mask. It is also art.
Yes, 100%. And I will say too, if y'all want to order a Lifeless Creations mask of your own, you guys have an official website now, and it is linked in the description of this live stream.
Check it out.
You got to check it out. Not to inundate you with orders in the middle of build season, but everyone who's anyone wants a piece of this.
Yeah, sure.
And Crystal just brought up the scent sprays.
Yep.
Which are
we're getting to the scents.
Another big thing that you do at Lifeless that now it's funny is that here in this, let me pull us off for a second so you can actually see. Yeah, there we go. So there's a whole collection of different scents that you have. And I will say that at East Coast, some of them were actually very nice scents.
Yes.
Like, very pleasant scents. Like we bought
was it Deep Waters or something?
Yeah.
Kind of like definitely Pirates of the Caribbean.
Reminiscent of Pirates of the Caribbean.
That one was
and
good.
There's other scents on the complete opposite end of the spectrum that I remember vividly being like, oh.
Well,
and that's where the famous meat truck comes in because
between the sights, the sounds, and the smells at Fright Farm, I mean, I remember the first time we were there and I'm like, wow, it smells really good in here, or it smells really bad in here. And you're like gearing up like half an hour before showtime because you're about to go around and spray the rooms for fresh scent. And I was like, oh God, please don't overdo the meat smell.
And then what did he do if not immediately overdo the meat smell?
He absolutely has to overdo the meat smell.
He was like, that's all I'm going to do.
Yeah, that absolutely. No, it's, I think it's part of the immersion.
So what, from an outsider's perspective, is it, because a lot of haunts have scent pods within the haunt somewhere, but most of them are ordering those scent pods. You guys sometimes do that, I think, but for the most part, you're making them. Where does that come into play on the timeline of getting ready for haunt season? How much effort is it? What does it look like? Without giving away your trade secrets, of course, but like, how does this play into the grand Fright Farm scheme of things?
I feel scent is extremely important when it comes to a haunted house. Oh, there's Jade. She has an obsession with our smell Bloodweiser, which I can't stand. It is like a stale beer. It smells like one of our tents on a Saturday morning.
I mean, yeah, it's a familiar smell at least.
But I
can't do the hell scent. The
like rotten egg smell.
Yeah, it's not just rotten eggs. It was like a combination of rotten eggs. It was like every single horrible thing you could possibly think of. And I do mean you specifically, PJ, because it was your nefarious creation. Like it was everything that you could possibly bottle into a nefarious, horrible little bottle.
That was pretty bad. I do prefer the immersive sense, like the ocean and the rose petal, the jasmine. Mm-hmm. But I understand that not every scene has a good smell. there's going to be the ones that have to smell horrid to immerse you because you don't walk into a murder shed. What was I thinking of? The murder truck, the meat truck. Gosh, I was getting the wrong M word.
Midnight meat truck.
The meat truck, and expect to smell flowers. It has to smell like rotten.
When you started designing more of the show at Fright Farm, was smell one of the first things that came about, or was it part of your initial attempts to design, or was it something that, as time went on, you were like, this is great, but it really needs to smell like rotten eggs in here?
So, when I first started coming to Fright Farm, smell was there, but very lightly. We might have had 5 scent pods in the whole mansion. So only 5 rooms smelled specifically, like they were supposed to. And I would buy my own before I started baking and spray myself down, and they would, oh man, that meat truck, what are you doing in there? And then the owner kind of was like, I like that. Let's get more.
Nice.
So when did you start making, and was it like a, what? I think I know enough about how to do this, I'm just going to do it myself? Or was it I'd really like to learn this?
Or was it like, I need a particular scent and I can't find it, so I'm going to make it?
Exactly. I have to customize my experience.
So when I started doing conventions, Amber was joining along with me, and I wanted her to make a little bit of money too. So we kind of collaborated and bought stuff to make wax melts, because I thought haunted house wax melts would be amazing.
And they are.
We started doing that, and then I realized one day that I have everything to make scent sprays, so why not just start making them?
Was it literally that easy? Like, I have everything. Yeah. Let's just Tuesday night, I'm just gonna do this, or?
Yep.
Really? I might
there's some scents that just don't work as a spray. Like the base will just kind of like react with the oil a specific way, and it just, like, my fester that I make, I bought a base for it, and it totally changed the scent profile. It wasn't this nasty rotten smell anymore. It kind of smelled like a dirty book.
I mean,
which has a place.
That has a place.
But it's definitely not fester. That's more like
right.
My brain has like a perfect spot for that in the Fright Farm walkthrough, and I'm sure that's where it went.
Now I'm smelling the library as we talk about that.
No, the library actually smelled like roses the last time, or wine, like strong wine the last time.
The wine smell is right before the library, because that's like the wine cellar, and then you get into the library.
True that. You're right.
Maybe if it's still there, who knows?
Yeah, it changes every year, so who knows?
That wine cellar will be there for a very long time.
Just by the nature of it's too soaked in the scent, like we can't change it. Well, if you're selling scent pods again at East Coast, we will certainly buy some, or wax melts, or whatever, however they come, because these are obviously wax.
I can't believe you didn't mention the chainsaw wax melt.
I did, but only very briefly, and then you changed topics. Like,
Tim
you did
so jazzed.
Perfectly capture the chainsaw, like the gasoline, like just, I don't know. I can't articulate it. I can only smell it. Yep. But it's the smell of a chainsaw.
If you want your home, your apartment to smell like chainsaw, PJ's got you covered.
Evidently, you have a kick-ass mug too.
I kept seeing the mug, but I couldn't tell what it was.
Okay.
I could see a face, but I couldn't see like it. Yeah, that profile definitely.
Oops.
Thank you.
Made us too weird.
We were weird for a second.
A little weird is okay. That's too weird.
Oh, got some repeat customers.
Yeah,
coming
hopefully you guys, if you're coming to East Coast Haunters, we're getting you jazzed up to visit the Lifeless Creations booth, where I assume you'll have a full array of masks and wax melts.
Yeah. Did we have more photos of masks, or was those the only ones we had?
I do not
Oh, yeah,
personally
yeah.
have any further
Were-
photos of masks,
Were
but
there any?
you have a whole
You have some
store of them
behind you.
behind
Are
you
there
if you want to show
any?
them off.
Any you want to, in particular, you want to show off?
Yeah. So this one was new for Transworld. This is Backwoods
Ooh.
Bob. Amber sculpted it.
Oh, wow, Amber, nice work.
She's currently giving herself a tattoo right now. So
Hey, we've got to reward ourselves
Yeah.
for work. Well,
Self-care is
Job
important.
done.
Yeah. That does look phenomenal. And again, like it's a different vibe
Yep,
as
very
compared
different.
to
but still the trademark. Still the Lifeless Creations trademark. I did not realize quite how many masks were sitting behind you. That is so creepy looking. But very
that's his
cool.
light. He just those are yeah.
Yep.
That's an iconic
Look at the teeth on that guy. Wow. And they every time you make one, they get a name.
yeah. So that one was the dentist.
The dentist. Okay.
Yeah. The names get really stupid sometimes too.
Hey.
If you can't have fun with what you do, why do
Yeah,
it? There's
classic.
Mickey.
Yeah, and the fun thing about this one is these are real Mickey ears from a Mickey hat.
Very cool. I like the eye details on that one too.
That one we recognize
The eye
from Field of Screams, where Squeaks will run around, chainsaw wielder, has the Mickey mask.
Has an iteration of the.
And every
the
time
Mickey.
we round a corner and we see Squeaks there with the Mickey mask, I go, "Oh no, Mickey, what's gone wrong?" And he does his best, like, "Ha ha!" It's a big part of our Field of Screams experience.
It's a good interaction.
All right, so I have more questions about Fright Farm too, but before we move on from Lifeless, how is it juggling what you do with a small shop, being Lifeless Creations, and being the showrunner for Fright Farm? Is it like absolutely maddening, or do they kind of go hand in hand?
It really depends on how much I sell at Transworld. So I've got a pretty big list of what I need to do. I probably have 100 masks on order, plus getting ready for East Coast haunters and then Midwest haunters. So I'm looking at probably 300 masks between now and opening of Fright Farm, and that's without I got to go do build, and that's a Monday through Friday. It's a lot.
What's the turnaround on a single mask? If someone were to place a blank order today,
2 to 4 weeks, and that's
honestly that's a lot faster than I
quick.
thought. I'm gonna up that to 6 weeks for you. Anyone who's watching, like 2 to 4 weeks is an optimum projection, but 1% for the bus.
Or like
I've definitely shot myself in the foot a couple times with projected times, but
yeah.
what's the like build time sounds weird. How long does it take to make like we'll just say it's like a middle ground, like not as complicated mask? Like how long does that take?
Is it all I'm working on?
Yes.
Yes,
In
like
this context, yes.
in cumulative hours, like how many hours would you say?
If the mask is dry, I can get it done in 4 hours. That's me pushing just one mask. That's not me doing 10 at a time like I normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something like this guy. This is my middle ground mask.
Scarecrow.
This is $40. It's not as complicated as the rest.
Right. Not as many extra bells and whistles on it, but
right.
Yeah, really do that turn for us again, PJ. You have to show off like the side of the mask. Like that is so cool. The way that I just love it when like the jaw has like that movement. That is so cool. Yeah. very
Yeah.
As
That's
long as
all.
it fits your face, you know, you'll get some movement out of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just love
it's
that.
one size fits most by the very
Yeah.
nature of the design.
And not all
but
of them have that feature, but when it's there, I just think it's so cool. I love it.
it is part of what makes a lifeless mask more recognizable in the field. Because there's a couple that I think I've seen and have slipped by me just because they look a little bit different. But for the most part,
Yeah.
the detailed
if I
ones
see,
I can
like
always
it's got
tell.
that pin joint, I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, the
Very
little
cool.
like mangled Frankenstein jaw.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thanks for showing off some more.
Your
Yeah,
your next show is East
East
Coast, and then is it
Right.
you're done for a while, or do you have like
When
more
is- well, the
conventions? Because
Midwest.
I know you were at Steel City this past weekend.
Yep. Midwest is in June, so I'll have a little bit of time.
Right,
between
I always
each-
forget.
Oh, it'll come up before.
I'm too far from the Midwest
only-
to bother myself with when Midwest
with
is, but
East
you guys
Coast
have
being
to.
end of April, June comes up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay, so that's probably more than 300
Wow,
masks when all is said and done.
Taking a couple hours to talk to us.
I genuinely, when I text PJ about being on the show, I was like, okay, I know East Coast is coming up, and everyone's running around with chickens with their heads cut off, but it would be super cool. And then, yes, thank you for making time, because I know
I
it's
will always make time for you guys.
Oh,
much
my
appreciated.
heart.
Okay, back to Fright Farm.
Like
So-
we ever left.
Like we ever left. Fright Farm is part of our everyday. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier, as well as like backstage, but you guys, at least just in our eyes, are one of the most highly produced and most immersive and world built haunts
Mhm.
that we have been to.
Yeah.
So how early do you start planning for the new themes and iterations that happen year over year? And how early, I said what's the first thing that kicks off, but you can also interpret that as like, when does build formally begin?
Okay, so we normally start talking about what we want around mid-season of the current year. So we're seeing what's not working or what's working really good, what's popular with like pop culture, and then a couple months we'll let it just go. And then like last week we did our initial build meeting, and then yesterday we started build, and that goes all the way into October.
It's April 8th, man.
Yeah.
It's not even summer yet. That's wild.
But we I mean, it's crazy too, because we even design into October, because if something's not working, we will make it work.
Right. And that's why when we asked about coming on opening weekend this past year, you were like,
No.
you absolutely can, but please don't. Which, no, like I totally get. Like, not every little detail is probably going to be perfect until close to end of season. But
Since this has come up a couple times, I don't think this is a formal question, but I am interested in like how you might pivot. Is there an example from a previous season that of something you or the team were like really excited about, it wasn't working, and what did you do to like recover that for the rest of the season?
So last year, Tenement wasn't it. I didn't like it. It just wasn't the theme that we as a build team really strive to do. But we went in after the opening weekend and tweaked it until we liked it.
And that was like adding like the burn barrel.
Right. We redid the lighting. We added
Yes.
the burn barrel. We did a bunch of graffiti in the alleyway.
That was so good.
And I will
That
say,
definitely was more
when
immersive.
we visited in 2024, by that time you were starting to come around to the things that you did like about the Tenement, but you still had kind of mixed feelings about it. Like you just weren't feeling the vibe of it. And I will say one of the things that stood out to me is like, this is what makes Fright Farm so appealing for repeat customers. timers, because if you're a first timer at Fright Farm and you walk through that big apartment complex, you're like, oh wow, look at the scale, it's a big apartment complex, but it might not floor you the way that I know you'd be hoping that first timers would be floored, which is why you do things like the Big Yeti room, where it's like, holy crap, I'm outside all of a sudden. Having said that, as returning customers of Fright Farm and remembering vividly what this room used to be and what it is now, the sheer volume of the transformation is what made it super cool. So like, there's a floor where you can get excited about basically anything that room becomes, if it becomes something in a short span of time, the way we know it always does.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna love this year.
I can't. I can't wait. I would love to see it. We're tossing terror tours back and forth, but yeah, definitely. Oh, the homeless man scream. Yeah, that was fun. I actually I think I got a pretty good scare in Tenement, actually. When we came around the corner, when we were out of like the big room proper and into like the smaller like kind of corridor area, I think
lighting really does play a huge role.
It was absolutely the lighting, because I didn't see anything coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Lighting
Katie, my favorite scare for you is in you were in Hollow Grounds and you went in the underground crypt and you got scared by a vine.
Yeah, that's classic me. That's classic me.
Chainsaw, I wouldn't do it for you. It's just the little vine.
We were also talking about.
It's so sweet that you remember that, PJ.
It
makes me happy.
Jared and Terry at Halloween Haunts, we were talking about like the propensity to like over dramatize our reactions and whatnot because we're vlogging, and like when you vlog, there is a certain front. Like there is a little bit of like a role that you take on without even trying to sometimes. But I will say, when it comes to haunts and walking through, like we're just jumpy AF. Like we're stupid jumpy all the time, and the only thing that changes is our volume.
Yeah, if I'm screaming, I got scared, or if I'm laughing, I got scared. I laugh when people scare me.
Every scare we get at Fright Farm and any other given haunt is a genuine scare. It's just my trying to recalibrate with my running commentary of nonsense. That's what's.
Oh yeah, my enthusiasm for a cool effect or whatnot is completely genuine. Like I don't make that up. Like I just don't. I'm not that good an actress.
I have this picture, which actually Amber sent to me when we came for the first
time.
This
is such a good like capture of lighting
this
design
picture.
at
Yes,
Fright Farm.
Since we were talking about lighting anyway, I was like, this is the perfect time to break this down, because like Fright Farm, from the outside, it looks like it's going to be a fun little haunt. And the emphasis in that sentence should be on the word little, because all you see from the outside is the mansion. But under the mansion are... God, have you ever actually like measured the square footage of the walkthrough, like how long it actually goes versus? But it feels like it goes forever.
It looks, and you can't see like the grounds, and the hollow grounds, and the whatever the the shipyard was last year.
It's very Disney of you to have like this kind of like and TARDIS, like Doctor Who. Like,
I was going to say
inside.
It very much feels like it's bigger on the inside, and when what you don't know when you're after you've just, and this is after you've already done a full hayride, then you're coming in here. And what you don't know, you think you're just entering a house, but you're going to be in and out, outside, underground, back into another house. Like, it's expansive. And then when you're all done with that, you can go to Slaughter Hollow if you want.
Which I do.
But you can really see, like, it's really fun. Like, every time we've come, we have come like during the day, which not everyone will get to do, and we understand that, but it's been really cool to see how it transforms from day to night.
And the lighting on this building changes from year to year too.
Yep.
I noticed this year we added a little bit of, or maybe I just didn't see it from the right angle the year prior, but it looked to me like there was the blue accents got added, some of like the big props got moved around so that the shadows would be cast differently. Like a lot of thought goes into this facade. But then behind the facade is a whole nother experience that I didn't leave you any room to answer my question if you've ever actually tracked the square footage of it. But
I have not. I want to so bad because it's just a massive haunted complex. It is. I mean, you're like you guys said, you're upstairs, you're downstairs, you're in an attic, you're in a basement, you're just everywhere, all at once, and then you're tired.
Have you ever been to Penhurst Asylum?
No.
Okay. So our experiences have been limited. We only went for the first time this past year.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think it has going for it is the scale of the campus. Because the buildings that you see are the top layer. And you typically will go through the bottom floor of a building, up the stairs, through the top floor of the building, and then down the stairs to exit, and that's an attraction. But then underneath the campus itself are a bunch of tunnels that were used as like emergency exits and like storage facilities and whatnot during its time as an operating facility. And you wind up spending a long time inside those tunnels and catacombs and all the things that they've done there. I think because we went like too late in the season, we had a mixed experience with like some attractions definitely being standout and other attractions being a little less impressive overall.
Like builds were impressive, but we were like, oh, I think we really missed out on some actors in some of these scenes.
Mostly because like by that it was
some
too
people
late.
Were burnt out.
It was too late in the season, and that's not at all their fault. But that's I bring it up only to mention that like Penhurst, you can see the scale from the outside. Fright Farm, I would argue, is just as long or longer as a walkthrough experience, especially if you count the hayride, which I do. It's part of the linear experience.
Yeah, it's part of your ticket.
But then you only catch the smallest glimpse of what you're getting into before you actually walk through those doors. And then when you walk through, the funny thing is you walk through the door, and then you walk immediately out the other side. Like you're not even in that.
If you're a customer,
that manner for that long.
If you're a customer, your day, you show up at midway when and that's all you'll see. You're not going to typically go back to where
you might see the house as you're driving by.
Yeah, but you're not going to see much. And then you're getting on the hayride, and then the hayride drops you off right where that image was showed you. So unless if you've never been before, you have no idea what you're about to get into.
And every year it's different. So we also don't know what we're getting into when we show.
That's true.
We know generally the layout, but the layout changes sometimes too.
We've said it again. We said it again. We said it once and we'll say it again. I don't know where I'm going with this. It doesn't matter how many previews we do, how many daytime walkthroughs we do. When the show starts, it's transformed. The lighting makes a difference. Actors make a difference. The sounds all make a difference. And I could know, yes, this is where the giant rat comes out. And when it comes out, it's still gonna scare me.
Every freaking time. This is an open secret. I have a mild mouse phobia. So giant rat. Small. Actually, the smaller the mouse is, the more it terrifies me because that means it can sneak by me and up on me before I realize it's there. But just in general, like rodents of unusual size.
Rodents of usual size, you mean?
Rodents of unusual and usual size. They both stand out to me. So, but the one time you got me good was when, obviously, first year, I don't know where all the cut-throughs are. So as far as I know, you're back behind me. Then we round the corner, and I'm like, dude, look at this giant rat.
That was during our daytime walkthrough.
That's like sitting dead with nothing happening, and I'm like, this is gonna be really cool at night. And unbeknownst to me, PJ's crept ahead and is like snuck around and put his arms inside this rodent, and it's like, it comes out at me without warning, and I just about wet myself. So that's Fright Farm in a nutshell.
That was a good time.
So,
Tim, how do you call yourself a Disney fan and you're scared of a mouse?
I'm not scared of anthropomorphic mice. I'm scared of the standard animalistic kind. Do you want to know the story? I'll tell you the story. So I used to live in a Baltimore row home. As you know, Baltimore City, as with many cities, not exactly cutting down its rodent population by the day. At some point, mice moved into my home.
Into the attic.
Into the attic, and I heard them rummaging around. And at the time, I was like, whatever, critters. I used to live in a whatever cul-de-sac, so I'm used to like squirrels running across the roof. Well, the next day, I found like chips on my kitchen counter had like a mouse like nibbled into the corner of them, and the chips were all over the counter. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a problem. So I'm going to lay out some traps. The next day, I hear the trap go off while I'm watching TV. I get up and I go and I check the trap, and there's nothing in it. These mice were very smart, PJ. I bent over to try and reset the trap, and the little sucker runs between my feet, like out from under the couch, grabs the little cheese thing, or it was peanut butter actually, grabs the little peanut butter and then runs back and scares the living daylights out of me. So then I'm like, okay, I understand, this is war. I go into my attic a couple days later, and I'm just laying like traps like on every single cross beam. And there's no lights in my attic. It's an old house. I'm using like a little, like my cell phone light to get around. And as I'm setting the traps, I hear them like circling me, like a whole big pack of them. And I swear to you, they were laughing. It was like, like a non-proper rodent sound coming from all corners independently. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna die. Like they've cornered me. They've lured me up here. I'm clearly a victim of my own hubris, and I'm going to be eaten alive by mice. That was pretty much my experience, and ever since, I'm like, yeah, no. Every time I see a rat on like the city streets or whatever, I'm like, I'm going to take the other street and not even come anywhere remotely close to them.
It's not even just rats, though. It's like, it is
it's
little mice.
Yeah, the smaller, the more formidable in some ways.
Yeah.
Well, what if I told you I had pet rats?
I would be very upset with you.
I had one of my besties growing up had pet rats, and I cuddled them all the time. I'm not.
Yeah,
afraid.
Katie's not bothered at all.
No, I'll hold rat snakes.
Forever. I like mid-sized animals. I'm a dog person. But anyway, that's my
Tim's trauma.
That's my phobia story. I have other phobias. We can go into depth if you like. But first,
yeah, I'll design a new room around it.
Yeah.
Make it like some mice. The soundscape is mice.
Did I just give you ideas? That's the mouse whirlpool. We call it the anti-Tim room.
Yeah. No. Oh man, if you pulled that off, that would be so funny.
I would hate it.
I would hate it so much.
I would hate it, but you would get the most genuine scare cam reactions.
It would be.
So, what does a typical show night look like for you personally? And I'll say, just to set the tone, we'll do like 3 weekends in. What does a show night look for you as opposed to like a mid-October, end of the world kind of night?
Yeah.
I know you do acting, so occasionally you'll jump into scene, and I imagine that helps you keep a better eye on things in some respects. But for the most part, would you find yourself like mostly backstage? Are you frantically mixing sound? Are you mostly acting? Where does your time get budgeted?
So it's mostly a mix. My day starts at 5. I come in, I go fill up every fog machine on the property. Mm-hmm. That's walk number 1. And then walk number 2 is spraying the scents all around the haunt. And then walk number 3 is turning power on. So I'm at 6:30, 7 o'clock by that time. After that, it's time to throw the mask on, get in full costume, go take wagon 1. I take wagon 1 every night. I make sure, everything's working out there. Everybody's in their spots doing what they should. And then I'll walk the house, the grounds, and then make my way to slaughter. Now, when I get to slaughter, that's where I normally stop and play for a little bit. And then it's time about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I'll go make a fog run. And I go fill up every fog machine again. And then I'll go play some more. And then that's the end of the night, hopefully.
I was going to ask if the 5 o'clock was the AM or the PM, and I was like, would not surprise me either way. But
Well, that depends if he's showing around to vloggers that day or
Yeah,
not.
we're
And your
kind of
day's
we're
much
kind of
longer.
cumbersome to your to your usual night, I'm sure.
As I always tell you guys when you're here, I'm here for you.
Yeah. I still remember, I think the first time, because you do walk, when we've gone through, you've walked with us, but slightly behind. And gosh darn it, the lighting in Fright Farm, I turned around and the lighting was just casting on your mask. And I outlet myself and I'm like, oh my God, it's
That's the magic of Lifeless Creations, too.
the magic. It's all the magic put together. It's the mask, it's the lighting. I'm unsettled.
Shut up, Jared. That's what I have to say, with love.
Respectfully, shut up.
We've gotten bogged down in stories, and so we're running a little bit long, and I don't want to keep you all night. But I'm gonna leave a couple of the questions that we had towards the end in, because I do want to hear your take on them. I'm slashing some others because we've kind of answered them as we went.
Happens. We always prepare for more.
Yeah, it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared.
Yeah.
What is one challenge most people wouldn't expect about running a haunt of this scale?
I feel like
Put it another way. What is your most unusual pain point?
customers.
I was like, I bet he's gonna say customers.
I mean, it's not as unusual as you might think.
Yeah, the ones that, they're not there for the haunt, they're there for mischievous reasons. Those ones really grind my gears.
Ours too.
I think that, then this, to be honest with you, is a big part of the reason why we've lost some enthusiasm for Halloween Horror Nights, because it's happened all over the industry, but it's happened the worst at Halloween Horror Nights, where it basically just becomes a frolicking playground for the more rambunctious sort of person.
Sometimes a teenage daycare.
I've been trying to avoid using the word teenager because it's not exclusively teenagers that cause the trouble, but it is sometimes haunted attractions at theme parks and just standard independent standalone haunts become de facto babysitters. You have a whole gaggle of people that are dropped off for a fun night, and it can be a super fun night. I'm not saying that you shouldn't plan on having a fun night with your friends at Fright Farm. You absolutely should.
Yeah.
But be respectful. There are rules for a reason. Every haunt has them. Follow the rules. Keep your phones in your pocket. Don't touch stuff. Don't touch stuff. Don't try to outshine the actors.
Yep.
Like, you're there for a fun time, not to be the center of attention.
Yeah. Enjoy it. And don't make yourself part of the show, I guess.
Right.
And this Storming Thrills, Tim is another Tim, is a friend of ours who is a scare actor at Field of Screams, but also a operator at Hershey Park. And he always comes down on our side on this too, because you guys are cut from the same cloth. Like, everyone sees the worst of people at some point or another in these sorts of situations. College kids dressed as pilgrims. What?
I feel like there's a story behind that, but we don't have to get into it.
Is there substance we need to know, or should we let sleeping dogs lie?
So every year we have a group come rent a tent. That it's normally they'll dress up as. One year they were like all disco.
Okay.
And one year they were Amish participating in Rumspringer.
Okay.
They always come decked head to toe in whatever they've all agreed on, and a lot of them are previous actors from before I started there, and they cause a scene every year. But we know that, so we kind of follow them through and make sure they're decent.
Yep. Got it.
I mean, on the one hand, that's semi-wholesome.
I like the theme costume. We're gonna have a fun night, but I also don't want them to give you guys extra stress.
Yeah,
so if they could find some balance between fun night and causing a scene, that would probably be pretty good.
I think I want to also. This is a shouldn't be a controversial statement, but I think it kind of is. Don't pregame before you go to a haunt. A lot of haunts will serve alcohol. Not all of them do. If they don't, there's a reason. If they do, it's to make sure that they can keep track of how much you're drinking. But don't pregame and then go and cause a ruckus at a haunt just because it's a fun, spooky place to cause a ruckus.
Yeah.
Let the actors do the ruckusing.
Yeah. You want to be able to like walk through the whole thing with like your own two legs.
I could be on a soapbox all night about guest behavior, but
Yeah.
in general, like, I think I would recommend just like go for the haunt experience, not for whatever you want to do.
Yeah, the like people who are like, I'm gonna prove I'm so brave in front of my friends or my partner or whatever. It's just like,
I mean,
ugh.
there's a respectful way to do that too. Like,
Yeah.
there's a when you were scare acting at Field, like people were coming through, and there was like the bros in a conga line that were all trying to be like big and tough, but we're actually like,
No, there was
like
nothing
shaking
big
and
and tough about them. They were
no, that's why
in a-
they were like trying to defend themselves against a bear. They're forming a larger animal by making a human shape.
that was funny. Yeah, they were all.
And I don't think
Very
they were, apart from some language, I don't think
no.
they were particularly disruptive.
I mean,
but
I think if I get some language, I'm doing even though Field of Scream says no profane language, I'm like, if I get a F-bomb drop, that means I'm doing my job right.
sometimes it's instinctual.
Yeah.
And now that's not to say like, I instinctually punch someone when I'm scared.
Right.
Then if you know that, keep your hands in your pockets or don't go. But if you're,
I'm pretty sure I swore at Fright Farm last year, didn't I? Did you have to bleep me out? I'm pretty sure.
may have.
I'm pretty sure you had to bleep me out.
There's, again, with Fright Farm, like there's traditional hidey holes and cut throughs, but also like the lighting is so good, and
I did swear at Red Vein. That's true.
the grounds are so, particularly the grounds are so
grounds.
like, what's the word? Atmospheric.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of places to hide. You can't possibly be prepared
The
for every
fog is
single corner.
thick. The fog is thick.
I'm gonna slim this down to 2 more questions, and then we have one question from the audience I can end on. But biggest misconception about haunts or haunting that you wish you could correct? Something you hear tossed around, like, I don't know, my grand. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to put ideas in your head.
It wasn't scary. That's so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
What scares you doesn't scare somebody else.
You're talking like a post-mortem review, like word of mouth gets back. Someone said, "Oh, Fright Farm wasn't that scary."
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, it's true.
That's fair. I was gonna say my what inspired this question is my you know what? I'm not going to identify the family member. A family member within my family tree, for some reason, thinks of haunted houses as being like pop-ups for kids. So we tell her we're going through haunted houses. This is when our YouTube channel was in infancy. Like, we're going through haunted houses, and we film videos and we talk about what we've seen and done. And then she says, like, the things that like church fall festivals do with like the folding boxes and whatnot, that's stupid. And I'm like, no, this is a whole industry, actually. And it is, the funny thing is it's a growing industry. Like it was not as big as it is now even 5 years ago.
I mean,
every year there's 2 or 3 new haunts per state, and a couple haunts do fold every year, but for the most part it's booming.
Yeah.
I mean, this is year 36 for Fright Farm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was kind of disgraceful that we'd never heard of it until you guys reached out, but I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, me too.
And now I like it's all I talk about half the time.
I think actually my misconception, I think Tim actually brought up in the comments that like
not this one, but this one.
The second one, the actors must be mean or you know, people who enjoy this stuff must be really like messed up in the head. And I might argue that we're maybe a little bit messed up in the head, but I've said it like these are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Like they're so nice. They're supportive. They're supportive of each other's, you know, personal projects. They're supportive of other haunts. They want to, you know, there's, I won't say it's always like this, but there's healthy competition and support, and, you know, you make products that are at other haunts, that actors wear at other haunts, that props that get sent to other haunts, costumes, things like that. So like it's a very, you know, yes, there's, you know, bloody gore props and things like that, and a big devil worshiping goat man or whatever, but
Not
like
always.
the goat man, but I'm just saying, but like the goat man, when he takes his mask off, is like the nicest person you're gonna meet.
Yeah, that's Dave, the guy down the street that like goes and works at the homeless shelter on weekends. You know, like
these are like nice. So definitely,
I think what kind of struck us about the East Coast Haunters Convention last year, because we'd never been to Transworld before, but like we for a long time have been a part of the Field of Screams community, Fright Farm community, the Laurel's House of Horror community, the places we go frequently, and we start to like learn people's names, and like it always feels like we're coming home. But East Coast, I think what really stood out to us when we went for the first time and saw like this is not like we've done, you know, comic and pop culture conventions, and with the trade show you're expecting it to be all business. But what it actually is a bunch of haunts supporting other haunts. It's a bunch of people coming together and saying like, loved what you did with that scene. Like, I'd love to pick your brain about how to make our scene a little better in this area. And it basically is just one big workshop. And I think that's so cool. And it's honestly so unique in business as a whole that you guys, as essentially small businesses, some larger than others, but are coming together and cross-promoting and helping each other thrive and grow instead of seeing each other as competition.
Yeah, pure competition. Yeah.
I don't know any other industry that looks at things that way.
It's not to say there aren't bad eggs out there or whatnot, because we're all human, but I just, I would say, you know, overwhelming percent, way above 95% of the people we've interacted with have just been the bee's knees.
Yes.
The good thing about haunts is if they're doing good, we're doing good. Mm-hmm. Everybody normally goes to more than one haunted house.
Yep.
And that is certainly true of us. I think our first ever haunted attraction in the non-haunted mansion sense was it may have actually been Markov's.
I think it was Markov's.
Because we, in 2019, after we got married in 2019, and after we got married and had our own like first 6 months, I mean, 2019 became 2020, and then things kind of went a little bit sideways.
Different.
But the October of 2019 was the first year that Katie was coming around to more of the scary stuff I was putting in front of her. And I was like, I've heard really good things about, you know, like haunted houses in our area, and I'd really love to go check some of these out. And she was like, okay. So I think we did Field of Screams Maryland, Markov's Haunted Forest, and then weirdly Dave & Buster's as like a hollow weekend in 2019. Yeah. And that energy, like, in as much as it was a test run, like it became our whole lives after that. Like even in 2020, we were out trying to go to like haunts close to us with like masks on and whatnot as soon as they were able to open.
Yeah.
And by 2021, like we were full-blooded haunters. So, because that's the community. Like that, it just
sucked us in.
Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
Haunting is for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Any actors have any? Yes. I love it.
Yep.
I love everything about it.
Jade is referencing we had a tornado in Smithfield.
I remember
that. That was crazy.
And that was shortly before we came too, because I know we were still talking about it by the time we got there, that you guys had like just gotten.
Yeah, because there were some parts of grounds that the route had to be changed, and then some of the debris was just left because it was like, it's knocking over the statue. It looks kind of cool and decrepit. We just left it. Cool.
We actually had a lightning strike hit somewhere on Hayride, and it fried like 90% of the attraction. I mean, we had to replace prop controllers, animatronics that had, died, all the lighting, extension cord, like it really messed us up, and it was not a fun night.
No, that's not fun.
And not anything you can do though. I mean, that's totally, that's what insurance would call an act of God. All right. One more formal question, and then we'll do a fun one. And this, I think, is probably the go-to question that we have for all haunters that we talk to, which is someone wanting to break into the haunt world, be it in a managerial role, in a technical capacity with the soundscaping, the acting, the smell potting. What do we call that? The
smellscaping.
Smellscaping. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to do some or all of what you do?
Just be passionate, jump in it, head first. Pester the tech guys. Try to get them to teach you, how a prop controller works. Learn some lighting techniques, some tips, tricks. Just study, watch other haunts. It's a long process, and sometimes it's hard to get into a haunt with like an upper management role because they're filled. Mm-hmm. But people do grow out of it eventually, or life changes, and then you're there to step in. Or
the haunt grows and needs extra hands, which is the best case scenario, because then everyone benefits.
Yep. Oh. Well, I think that's good advice.
It's solid.
I think we had
we do,
we had one fun
audience
question.
I'm curious of this too.
Do you have a favorite horror movie?
And if not,
or
top
horror
3.
Movie franchise, or
top 3 if you can pick one.
Top 3. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 remake.
Ooh, the remake.
The remake. It does something for me.
Jessica Biel?
Yes.
Okay.
Then it would be The Lost Boys. And House of a Thousand Corpses.
What's funny is that the 3 you picked combine into a Lifeless Creations. I just mentally, I've got like a movie poster, and I'm like, oh yeah, if you Frankenstein them together, I can see where you're.
I was putting money down on a version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Because I feel like chainsawing is in your soul, but
I would not have guessed the remake though. That's not traditionally known as the.
Right. I get a lot of flack for that one. That was the first one that I saw in theaters. I just love the design of Leatherface in that movie. He's much more aggressive, angry, and that's what I kind of go for, because, I mean, when I put my mask on, I'm not like, I'm a very nice guy, but when I put the mask on, I see myself as this angry man.
Yep. Because it's funny, because sometimes when we're with you, even though you're still escorting us around, you have transformed into your character, and you're giving customers a hard time, and they're dishing it out, and you're giving it right back. And I'm always like, I know that it's PJ, and he's the nicest guy ever, but yeah, he's in the zone right now.
That's part of the fun of scare acting, is that you can become the antithesis of yourself while still being yourself.
Yeah. Now I have the song from Lost Boys.
And you know what's infuriating to me is you haven't even seen it.
No, I haven't. I have seen a lot of movies.
Listen,
now,
I've seen the OG Lost Boys and the 2 terrible sequels.
2 very terrible sequels.
2 very terrible
Well,
sequels.
at least I know I don't have to watch this.
But that, well, no, you kind of do, because Edgar Frog is the man. That's the only reason to watch it.
Oh, all right.
They're bad, but they're fun bad.
Well, maybe we can space them out a little bit.
Any final thoughts, memories, stories that you care to share? Or perhaps we should end with this as well. Where can people go and follow along with your journey and check out your work?
My personal is PJ Lifeless on Instagram. And Lifeless Creations has all the fun stuff, a website, Instagram. We're thinking of doing TikTok.
I saw it was set up, so I included it.
we're thinking about jumping into it. And then Fright Farm, website, Instagram, TikTok, all the fun stuff.
Oh, awesome. Check out Lifeless Creations at East Coast Haunters.
Yes.
Yeah, come say hi, even if you don't want to buy anything.
Yeah.
Just come say
You
hi.
should buy something.
You don't have to.
Everything is lovingly and artfully made.
Come smell test the scent waxes.
I'm not a pushy salesman. I don't care if you smell every one of them and leave. I just like you to smell them.
Appreciate the work.
Customer feedback is important.
And get to Fright Farm this year if you haven't, for their 36th season. If you haven't checked them out yet, put them on your calendar. Take a road trip out there. They have such a great show, run by such great people.
Thank you so much, Gage. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thanks, Gage. Yeah, definitely. And make sure. Oh, we're supposed to harass you about Bloodweiser.
Yes, apparently there's a movement to get Bloodweiser back into stock.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. There always is.
And yes, as Katie said, we're all wearing Fright Farm merch.
Yep.
Not because we have to, because we want to.
I have to like break my arm to show the Fright Farm, but here, Fright Farm. There we go.
I like Tim's hoodie better because I'm on it.
Well, yeah.
Oh, it is you,
Is
isn't
that
it?
you?
It is totally
Yeah.
him. That's like the thumbnail image
that's
that I
so
use.
cool.
That's me covered in ketchup.
Hold on.
Right. You covering ketchup. Yeah.
Hold
Fright
on.
Farm.
Let me. The lighting's not exactly right. There we
You
go.
can kinda see
You can
it.
see a little bit.
Yeah. It says see you in the barn on the back, right?
Yeah.
See you in the barn. Yeah. Tim loves that hoodie.
I do. It's a comfort hoodie and also support local haunts.
Yeah.
All right. We'll let you go, PJ. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for making time for us during what is obviously your
very
busy
busy.
season.
Well, maybe there'll be a part 2 one day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. We would love to have you back. We could.
Or you can pester Amber.
Yeah.
There's no reason it couldn't be both.
Nope. No reason. And thanks everyone for joining us, for asking questions of us and PJ. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yes, and that will be April 22nd for us. So we're an every 2 weeks live stream.
Yep.
We have one more of the Making Monsters series to present to you ahead of East Coast, and we have a special guest coming for that one as well. After that, we have some exciting travel news to go over, so we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But until then, thank you again, PJ. You're welcome to stick around backstage if you want to. You're not obligated to. We'll be with you shortly. And for everyone else, I've been Tim.
I'm Katie.
And every night
is a new adventure.
And we'll spook you again soon.
Bye.